Album of the week, released August 17th, 1984. The debut album from W.A.S.P, self-titled album, W.A.S.P. I remember when I first heard Shout the Devil, I was on a kick where I wanted to find bands that was kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine who lived a couple houses down the street, who kind of got me into a lot of music, he had the vinyl. And he was like,
okay.
well, if you like Shout the Devil, you'll like this. And I wasn't disappointed, man.
Yeah.
For that time, that album was heavy too.
Mm-hmm.
Like not so much now, but especially they're considered a hair band. But they're like,
yeah, they come from that era. But I
yeah,
also think for that time, Shout at the Devil and that album felt like were heavy metal.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
That was heavy metal for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. What were some of your favorite tracks on that record?
Obviously the cup. I Want to Be Somebody. Because that's to this day an anthem W.A.S.P song.
Yeah,
I like School Days off of that.
yeah, it's a good one.
Love Machine, they did a video for that. I Want to Be Somebody. A Tormentor, On Your Knees. That's another one that's good all the way through.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing with how Animal was supposed to be on that album.
Yeah, I know.
But the label wasn't going to let him put it on it, so they ended up doing it as a single, and it was fucking huge.
Yeah, I know. And then they re-released it on like years later, and they put that on there as the first track. But Love Machine, so good. The Flame,
Yes.
Sleeping
Absolutely.
in the Fire, dude.
Yeah.
I know you're not into ballads, man, but Sleeping in the Fire is so fucking good, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you said The Flame, because I do like I said, School Days, but The Flame's a fucking real good one off that record, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I knew this too, that you said your dude in the neighborhood had the vinyl of that, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I had a vinyl version of that back when I was into the record collecting thing about 10, 12 years ago. And the version I had was one of the, I'm not going to say original pressings, but one of the pressings from the, 84.
Yeah.
And,
I ended up, I had it.
Okay. Well, where I'm going at with this is, on the end near this, just outside of the sticker label.
Yeah, I looked that up. There's a name for that.
The Winged Assassins. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, what I'm thinking of is where it says we are sexual perverts.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was some that said Winged Assassin, or maybe on one side it said that, then the other side said Winged Assassins. And then I guess there were actual cassette copies of that album that came out that said W.A.S.P, but then under it said Winged Assassins, as people would take that as if that's what the album was called.
Yeah.
How it would say it on the cassette, like the side, like if you're looking at the side of the cassette, like as if that was the name of the album, Winged Assassins. And I remember the one I had, the record I had the Winged Assassins, and I think the other side did say that we are sexual perverts. Yeah.
See, because like after I heard it, I ended up buying the record, and it was probably 84 when I bought it. But yeah, I don't remember the Winged Assassins, but I know it's called the Matrix number, the dead wax run out area. It's like the shiny part, next to the label.
Yeah. Yeah.
It had "We Are Sexual Perverts" carved in it.
Yeah.
And that was like the version I had. Yeah.
And the Winged Assassins was the same way.
Really? See,
The
I see. I don't
cars in it.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I don't
yeah,
remember that one. You
yeah.
said it was on the other side.
Well, I know for sure the one I had, the album I had the Winged Assassins, but I'm saying there may have been the possibility that the other side of the album may have had the Weird Sexual Perverts on the one I had. I just didn't, maybe I just don't remember it or
Well,
realize that it
unless
did.
there was like different releases.
Some that did,
Like,
some that, yeah.
yeah,
It could be
because
too.
I remember one and you remember the other. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
about when did you have that record? Like when it first came out?
No, I had it when I was collecting records about 10,
Also,
12
yeah,
years ago.
yeah. So
But that album, it wasn't like a reissue or anything. It had to have been from back in probably 84, 85,
mhm,
from that time. Like I said, it wasn't any sort of reissue. I
yeah,
found it used for like $7, $10, whatever,
yeah,
like had a little bit of wear to it. So it was clearly from back then. Like I said, it wasn't no any
yeah,
reissue.
yeah. Maybe they just had different editions then, because
Well, there was clearly had to have been different pressings of that album because albums still sold then.
yeah,
So they might have done a run of 50,000 at first, then another 50,000, and then
mm, yeah,
how. Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree. That's very possible.
yeah. Because like I mean, that's one thing that always stood out. It's like, and it's funny because I don't even remember how I discovered that, but I've always looked at records after that to see if there was
Yeah.
any other like hidden, messages like that.
Yep.
But it's funny because I think even W.A.S.P now will say like, well, it doesn't stand for we are sexual perverts, but at that time that was, it even had it on the record, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So at one time, either it was an inside joke or what, but
And that's what I always heard because do you know who Rick Fox is? You've heard about people talk about a guy named Rick Fox.
yeah,
Well, Rick Fox was originally in W.A.S.P. And the word is he's the one that even suggested to Blackie, like, they didn't have a band name yet. Well, let's call it W.A.S.P. And Blackie was even like, W.A.S.P. He was like, what and made some like that's kind of dumb, like whatever band's ever been like a bug, a bug. And he's like, oh, how about the Beatles? How huge were they?
yeah,
So they end up using W.A.S.P. And then I guess Blackie was the one that to put the dots after each of the letters to
hmm,
leave people to believe whatever maybe they wanted to think it could
yeah.
have stood for. So that's where I think, yeah, the kind of inside thing of we are sexual perverts kind of came
Wasn't
from.
I think Wasp is a cool name though. Like I
Oh,
always
I
thought,
agree.
it,
I
it
don't think it's stupid.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
fits them. But wasn't there a band from the '70s called like Praying Mantis or some shit?
There might have been. I know there was one in the late '80s that was like I think Chuck Schuldiner from Death had something to do with that. A praying mantis,
Really?
like
For some
early
reason,
death metal band in like
yeah.
the
For some
mid
reason, I was
'80s.
thinking '70s, but yeah, like, and that's not as catchy as Wasp.
Yeah. Well, too, and now I'm remembering like something he was like, Rick Fox and maybe him and Black had talked about it, like a one word band name that would be easy for people to remember, like
Yeah.
Wasp. Why not? And he said he was outside, like Rick Fox on the phone, or had like a wasp was chasing him, or he saw a wasp on the ground, and he's just kind of throwing out ideas, and it was staying with Blackie at the time, and it
Yeah.
said, yeah, what about wasp? As they're throwing out ideas for band, and he was like, wow, wasp, like a bug. Yeah,
But see, but also Wasp, it's like one of the most like dangerous insects. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to
yeah,
fuck with a wasp. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's at least, at least they want to call it Bumblebee or some shit.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Roly poly and shit.
Right. Um, and yeah, man, that band even back then was I mean, some of those dudes, even Blackie's talked about it. How he'll watch. He said at some point he hadn't watched videos of that era of the band in like years, and watched some shit from like maybe right around when they got signed or around when that record came out, and he was like, "Wow." He was like, "I really forgot how like fucking insane we were." Like,
Like I said, I mean, it was nothing really like it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Motley Crue had the look and stuff, but they didn't go as deep as Wasp. I mean, the Wasp had the stage show. Like they had,
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
they were always one of my bucket list bands. I've seen them probably 5 or 6 times, but I didn't see them until the '90s.
yeah,
So
okay,
I never got to see the original lineup. I never got to see like
yeah,
and but this last tour, show I took Rosie to, they did Animal, which is cool because they haven't done that song in
mm-hmm.
years. Because I guess he's super religious now, and he,
Yeah,
you know, tries to avoid a lot of those songs. But they did a lot off that first record, so
yeah.
it was cool.
Well, there's stuff on YouTube of them. They had some pretty infamous shows. They had played the Troubadour a lot, and there's a lot of good footage from like 83, 84 of them from the Troubadour on YouTube, man. Like with they had the big metal W.A.S.P sign above the drummer, and how even and the Troubadour is a smaller club.
Yeah,
Black, you would go and light it on
light it up.
fire, and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, lit it up. Having a woman in the the box to throwing the raw meat,
yeah, I know.
yeah,
So that'd have been insane, man.
yeah,
Yeah, so good. I have a VHS of them. I can't remember. They had like their videos on it, and I think had
yeah.
like
I know.
interviews and stuff. Like,
Yeah, it was called Wasp and the Raw.
yeah, yeah,
I know exactly what you're
yeah.
talking.
I
I
still
had it
have
also,
that shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's awesome. I had it too, man. That's on YouTube too in different parts. But
yeah,
so yeah, there's stuff on that VHS that's from some of the those early Troubadour shows. Yeah,
sweet.
but yeah, man, good record. You know, another classic. And I Want to Be Somebody and Love Machine are, like you said, still in their catalog to this day. I
Yeah,
Want to Be Somebody is one of their, that Blind in Texas, just real anthem like songs.
yeah. Like, I liked Last Command, and
Hmm.
I like a lot of the stuff that they're putting out now. But it's just that first record, man. Just, dude, it just, like I said, it's so heavy, so dark.
Hmm.
Like, it's funny because like the next record, Blackie was the only one on the cover,
Yeah.
and that started causing like friction between them, because becoming like the Blackie Lawless band, and like because
Hmm.
he would be in like all album covers and shit, But Chris Holmes, man, like it's gotta have Chris Holmes.
I agree. And for that first record and The Last Command, it was Holmes and Piper, man.
Yeah,
Amazing guitar team. Um, Yeah. So if we're talking on the first record, man, it's both Randy Piper and Chris Holmes, both, man. And yeah, I totally agree now. Like I would accept Wasp more if Chris Holmes was still a part of it. Um, Johnny Rod's even talked about like, hey man, I'm available. I want to do it.
hmm
Hey, so and I like that inside the electric circuit stuff. And I
I
like the
didn't
headless chicken
then,
stuff. Yeah.
but looking back, I like it now, and I like Headless Children, and
Yep.
Crimson Idol. I think is a great record, which I didn't. That's the first time I seen him was on that tour, and
Okay.
I wasn't a big fan of it, but like listening back, I fucking love it. But
And that's a huge album for Wasp too. The
yeah,
Crimson Idol. Yeah.
we were. It's funny because we were talking about W.A.S.P, how they were considered like a hair band, and we're talking about Odd
Mhm.
Tours. They're not much of a hair band when they take Slayer and Raven on tour with them.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
Well, fuck, then they toured with Metallica and Armored Saint.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's like, so you're not going to see
Yeah.
Warrant torn with Slayer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's
But
why, like,
that was the difference in that mid 80s. There were bands that were more just heavy metal,
yeah,
and Armored Saint was then too
yeah,
heavy metal. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and then the hair band shit started really becoming a category, I guess.
yeah.
And
I just
that's where I
like,
think Wasp fell into it.
yeah. But like when you hear people talk about like hair metal bands, they always throw Wasp in there. And it's like I don't know, I just don't agree with that. Just
And I agree with you, but I also think it's how people just generalize shit. Like, I'll generalize Junkyard as being from that hair band era,
yeah,
but they weren't, what you and I would consider a hair band.
yeah,
But they come from that era. They came from the Los Angeles and Hollywood scene. So that somehow that stuck all kind of gelled together as, the hair. I mean, but there's also bands hair that are considered hair bands that were, like Dirty Looks. I mean, they're, throwing in that hair band,
yeah,
but they weren't an LA Hollywood band,
yeah,
or even Cinderella. Cinderella wasn't from the Kicks. They were
yeah,
East Coast bands, but they all get thrown in that.
yeah. Like, and I hate that though. But I hate putting labels on bands anyway. Like they mentioned the grunge thing. I just hate labels.
Yeah.
It's all rock and roll. It's either good or
Yeah,
bad.
man.
I mean, that's
And if you're just not into it, okay, cool.
yeah. I
There's
mean,
clearly going to be enough people that those bands did well enough.
yeah.
You
Well, it's
know.
like, and the hair band term didn't come out to like the '90s after it was over. Like then it's
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
derogatory term. Like
yeah, yeah,
we were kids. It was just like glam. Glam rock
yeah,
or glam metal
yeah.
or
Hard rock, yeah,
yeah,
glam, yeah, right. And even then, I didn't care about those whatever. It's like I was either into the band or I wasn't.
yeah. That's,
You
that's how
know.
I was. Like,
And I've looked back now. There was bands I may not have been into back then that I've come back and been like, damn, this is actually pretty good. Like then there
mm,
were some bands I just outright wasn't like into, like Poison's Look or Warrants. That to me, that's the hair band stuff. But
that's the
I like that
epitome of
first Poison album.
yeah,
And there's Warrant songs that I do like. Um, but I said, it was that look, that
yeah,
I was just like, that's.
yeah. Warren is one band I just never get into though. Like
I
just
said I don't hate them. There's some songs I like, okay. Um, but yeah, I never had any other albums, cassettes, whatever.
yeah. But see, they were one of the later bands too. So
Yeah, yeah.
like we said, by that time it was kind of it was just
Only a few years left. Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
it was so watered down by that point.
Hmm.
The manufactured and shit.
Yeah. But they were a huge band on that
Yeah, yeah, they
Hollywood
were.
scene.
Yeah.
Like there was a show I did saw this has been a handful of years ago, and I know we're getting off topic of the first Wasp album, but of a Warrant show before they got signed at Gazares,
Hmm.
and it looked like it was a good time, man, if I'm being honest. Like
Yeah,
it kept my attention to watch the whole thing. Like it looked like it would have been a good, fun show.
yeah,
So they were a huge band on what the actual Sunset Strip scene. Yeah, Warrant were huge on that. So it made sense why they got signed.
yeah. And
You
those
know,
first two records were huge.
yeah, they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, man, the first Wasp, if people want to go back, like I said, I put it like I think you do too, the category of Shout at the Devil. It's heavy, and compared to like what we were just saying, nothing like a Warrant, or even a Poison. And that's not disparaging either of those bands, but that shit was heavy. It was heavy metal.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, man. I mean, it was
Dark.
truly dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just heavy metal. Like, and like, I know you said, like, with the Shout at the Devil, like, damn, am I supposed to be scared of this? You know, like, imagine
Yeah.
motherfucker throwing raw meat out
Yeah. No
and, like, you
shit.
know, like, with it in his mouth and shit. Like, yeah. Like, yeah,
I know,
yeah.
like, imagine going to one of those shows and not knowing who they were or what they were about. You know, you'd have,
Yeah.
you mean, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It would have been. I mean, but I think both of us would have immediately been like, damn, I'm into this.
Yeah, oh
Like,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, like, what's this? You know, not like, what the fuck's this? Like,
Yeah,
wow, what's
yeah.
this?
Because
Yeah.
like I heard the record, you know, and of course the album cover super cool too.
Hmm.
But like before I seen videos, you know, I heard the record. So like I just knew what they looked like by the album. So I didn't really know, you know, like then I seen the videos later. And then I heard about the meat and stuff later, you know, like but when I first got into it, it was like I just knew the music.
Yeah. And I didn't get into I think I knew about the, you know, I Want to Be Somebody and Love Machine videos, but I ended up having The Last Command on cassette. And then, you know, it was the same thing. I went back, you know,
Yeah.
so I didn't really start off with them on that first album. I mean, I knew of the couple of videos, but it was The Last Command because I love the fucking song Blind in Texas. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the first two on vinyl, and then when Circus came out, I got that on cassette. So that was around the
Yeah.
time I started buying cassettes. But yeah, I had the first two on vinyl.
Yeah, that's cool actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
I ended up when I was doing that record collecting, I had those three on vinyl and I had that live record on vinyl also. There was a live one between Inside the Electric Circus and the Headless Children.
yeah,
And that Scream Until You Like It song,
yeah.
that was on the live album.
The Manimal.
No, the Manimal was a
It's
different.
not
There
on
was
the
a.
same one.
Are you saying the Manimals? Oh, the song might be. I thought you were saying you thought "Scream Until You Like It" was and Manimal were the same song.
No, no, no. I said
No.
and the
Okay.
Manimal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
And
love
that
that song, the
scream.
Manimal, man.
Well, I like "Scream Until You Like It" because it
Yeah,
was
that was from
because they had a
like the
video for
Ghoulies.
that.
Yeah,
Yep,
it was on
Ghoulies,
the
one of the
yeah,
Ghoulies movies.
yeah,
Yeah, they had a video for that. I mean, I love the Humble Pie cover. I don't need no doctor. I mean,
mm,
I know it from W.A.S.P. And
yeah,
then, you know, now how I've fallen in love with Humble Pie. Like that guitar riff is just I think one of the best guitar riffs. The I don't need no
yeah.
doctor riff.
See, I didn't like it then just because it just wasn't as heavy. I mean, Last Command was they started getting less heavy, but then
Mm-hmm.
inside of that Electric Circus was kind of poppy. But I love it now. You know, like I remember, you know, the opening track, you know, like the whole circus thing. I was like, oh, this is super
Yeah.
cool. But then it's kind of like, man, this kind of sucks. But yeah, like I rock the fuck out of it now.
Yeah. I even liked it back then. Yeah, I know. I was all about Electric Circus even back then, man. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had seen him then, to be honest. Like, I like that. See, I call that a different era because that was Johnny Rod came into the band,
Yeah,
Blackie started playing guitar.
yeah,
Now I think the whole Piper Holmes guitar team was equally its own thing, though. And I love it the same, but it's
mhm,
two different eras of W.A.S.P for me.
yeah. They've they've kind of changed a lot because they said because Headless Children got heavy again.
Yeah, and Benali played drums on that.
Yeah, and then
So that's a cool one
they
for
even went
me.
like through like an industrial phase on Kill Fuck Die.
Yep, yep,
You know, it's
yeah.
like so they've changed, you know, style through the years.
Hmm. And I mean, they fell off with me after the Headless Children. I know that how the Crimson Idol's another huge album of theirs. I've gone back and listened to it, and I mean, I can't say I disliked it, but there was necessarily nothing about it that like kept me coming back to want to. I mean, I may check it out again, but
Yeah, I love
um,
that record.
because it kind of falls in a story thing too, right?
Yeah,
With
yeah,
Chainsaw
concept.
Charlie, and
Yeah,
yeah. So I do think that's cool about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's fucking cool. Yeah. Matter of fact, when I seen them this last year, I think it was like the would have been 20-year anniversary, 30-year anniversary for that record.
Of the Crimson Idol.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
yeah,
think you're
30.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they because they did like a set with like a lot of those songs, and then then they threw in like the other shit, you know. But yeah, like I love that record.
Right on. Yeah.
Right? Anything else?
No, that's all I got this time.
All right, 5 and out.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, comment, 5 and out.